Greetings, Graviteam Tactics Mice front players, to my Stepanovaka campaign as the German player, turn 5. This is the operational briefing map, which shows that we have 2 infantry platoons, 2 company commander platoons, 1 anti-tank battalion, 2 sapper platoons, 2 recon platoons, and 1 light tank platoon. On the Soviet side, we have 2 anti-tank gun batteries, 1 infantry platoon, 1 company commander platoon, 1 artillery unit, 2 mortar batteries, and 2 units which we have not identified. So looking at that, we're probably wondering, where is their offensive capability if they're going to take us on? And 2, we would at first suspect that we're going to get a hail of artillery. By now you're probably quite familiar with the contour map between Stepanovaka and Marinovka in the south. Basically the high ground is to the northeast, moving back towards our location in the southwest. This is the contour map focusing on the southeastern corner, and you can see there's a fairly prominent ridge line that runs from Brisson there in the west through to the yellow recon unit there in the east. The idea was to place the anti-tank guns just behind the ridge line, so they're protected from direct fire from the east, and our battery leaders placed in front of them so that they can then spot. Also along the ridge line, I've put the reconnaissance units along the ridge line with their radios so they can report contacts and this sort of thing. And then in the low-lying areas, in the gullies, in the trees, I've spread the other units, primarily infantry units. Our light anti-tank unit was severely depleted, having only 2 operational vehicles, and the rest only having a crew commander, so they have very little offensive capability.
Panzer! Wir haben Panzer! Panzer!
As luck would have it, the T-34s turned up in line of sight, line of fire of my Pack 40s. They're also within about 1100 metres of the Pack 40 location, so they were quite effective at that range against the T-34s, especially from the side. From the front, it was at the very margin of their range, but they were certainly rolled up in the killing zone of the Pack 40s, which really destroyed the Soviet offensive capability. Soviet artillery was evident, but wasn't quite in the scale I was anticipating. Also notice in the background you can see some anti-tank guns, anti-infantry guns, but at this stage of the battle obviously it was destroying the T-34s was the key objective. With the T-34 threat largely covered, then it was a matter of pushing the infantry through ravines and protected cover to one by one take out the anti-tank guns and their protective forces. The recon move option has move covertly as a default trait, so it's quite useful for using even during the battle just to take advantage of that covert move function. Of course you can select move and then select move covertly as part of that movement if you like. You may notice that I probably micromanage more than the average vlogger, and there is some discussion out there which says you should be playing this game using bitcher moves, but I'm not sure if that totally follows, because when you have a close look at this game, the developers put in a lot of detailed movement that you can use in the game, so I think it's just up to personal preference. Don't get too locked down by some other people's opinions. You should play the way that you enjoy playing. That's what this game is all about. I hope in a future video perhaps to do a little bit more on infantry movement and some of the little tricks you can use in the micromanaging area, like making the infantry fire their flares, doing different types of movement and these sorts of things. Also with armoured vehicles, I'm hoping to do some examples of firearm movement and different ways of moving vehicles around the battlefield. So just a little rant there about how to play the game. I don't think there's any right or wrong way, it's just whatever you happen to particularly enjoy. Now I happen to like micromanaging, which probably gets me in more trouble than not, but still we do this for fun, and I guess I get some enjoyment out of some of the detail of the game. One thing I've definitely learned from the AI is don't be shy about moving your guns around the place. I mean, although the PAC-40 was a large gun and you couldn't exactly move it around freely all around the battlefield, nevertheless you can move it short distances to get better lines of sight or more optimum firing conditions. So I've certainly taken that on as a trick, which I've observed the AI doing quite a lot. At this stage of the battle I moved around the map and started moving my infantry units towards the various key points, initially making reasonably large bounds, and then as you get closer to them I usually make shorter bounds just in case they get in contact with the enemy. infantry forces at this stage of the battle, you need to be a little bit patient and make sure your thinking slows down so they're operating at the rate of foot movement. Otherwise, you often end up with isolated infantry units which are easy for the enemy units to pick off. Try and give them mutual support. Think of how you can provide mortar support and even smoke, and even micromanaging infantry to provide their own smoke from their smoke assets they have. So these are some of the issues hopefully I'll be able to put together when I get a mission which works for them in that way. The remainder of this mission was mainly moving the infantry around the map and taking out all the guns as I mentioned. Rather than show you a bunch of little dots running around on a map, I'll end this one here, although the mission itself took me over an hour to complete. And hopefully in a future video I'll do a more detailed discussion on how I go about moving infantry. So I'll cut this one short and we'll see what happens with the rest of turn 5 or maybe turn 6.